this is a panel that, honestly, it would only come together if all three of these amazing founders said yes. If one of them said no, we wouldn't have been able to do the panel. So I'm really grateful because everyone has obligations, but they made us a priority, so thank you for doing that. Sense of place is a marketing lever that gets used in branding a lot, especially in fragrance. But for some brands, it's more than a marketing lever. It's everything for their brand. The origin and culture is the DNA and the foundation of their business strategy as well. So we have founders here from three of beauty's hottest markets: Saudi Arabia, South Korea, and Mexico. They're going to share with us not only where they're from and how it informs the brands they're building, but we also get a perspective of what's happening in three of the most dynamic markets in beauty today from their perspective. So to start, I want to talk about branding. And I have to tell you that all three of you are building brands that I'm personally so in awe of what you're building, because I think they're really special in a time when there are a lot of businesses that feel more like product businesses than intentional brands that are being built. And building a brand really is an act of intention where every detail tells a story. The products, the spaces, the narratives deliver a level of personal expression. I would love for each of you to share a little bit about what you're building, because I'm not sure that everyone may be aware of your brand sort of in the intricacy that we are. So Sarah, maybe we can start with you. So we met Sarah 3 years ago, I think, in London, when we were doing a panel on the Middle East. And we've never had a hard time filling content before. No one wanted to talk about the Middle East 3 years ago, like literally no one. But Sarah made the trip, helped us sort of educate, and she was just launching her brand. So it's been really great to sort of see from those early stages to what she's built today. But Sarah, can you share a little bit? Because I don't know that many people have been to Saudi to see your brand.
So we're Asteri. We're from Saudi Arabia. We pride ourselves in being one of the first brands that claims desert proof. So everything about our brand is inspired by the Arab woman, the Arab community, and the Arab environment, which is extreme heat, extreme dryness, and sometimes extreme humidity. So everything in the brand is inspired by that when it comes to ingredients, when it comes to formulas, packaging, the branding. The name of the brand Asteri is from stars, but it's all about how the nomads used to navigate in the desert and get their direction from the stars. So that's how it all started. We're clean and vegan also, but as I said, desert proof, which means we're long lasting, but also minding how it affects the skin. We've inserted a lot of culture, nuances, different type of things within our products, within our packaging, within our branding, and everything we communicate.
So June, I think what you're building is, yes, you're from South Korea, but it's almost a foil in many respects to you. Can you share a little bit about Born to Stand Out?
So for the past 2 decades, nonstop, I collected perfume. I bought at least one perfume per week, 52 weeks, for the past 24, 5 years. So it's been some time. I have been an avid perfume lover, so that's a starting point of who I am. An avid perfume collector who has passionately loved perfume all his life. And with none of these perfumes from Korea, I took that quite personally. And I had an obsessive thought of creating my own brand, an artistic perfumery from Korea. We never say we are from Korea, but we just happen to come from Korea. And Born to Stand Out really lives inside these two tensions that define modern Korea. First, could be provocation against tradition, And second is individuality against conformity. So our bottle is, I'm not sure if you've seen it, but it's a white bottle versus red. And it's inspired by this traditional white porcelain vessels, which is something very pure, classical, and it signifies conservatism. Then we print something like happy nuts, fake porn, like dirty rice, like in a deep crimson red across it. And note that red is a color of taboo in Korea. So in my childhood, my mother used to say, if you write somebody's name in red, it means you want the person to die. That was the color of, that's what red meant. So that's not a shock value. It reflects my message to Koreans that we respect the heritage, but at the same time, we let's not imprison ourselves into this. So one thing also that I want you to really remember about Korea is that Korea is an extremely collectivist society. There is often a right career, right? And right way of living a life, right message, a right image, right way to smell. And I spent my teenage years in the West and 20s and 30s back in Korea. And honestly, I still struggle to find why people live like that, still up until now. And the idea of social deviance is extremely, extremely amplified, almost as if stepping outside the comfort zone, like a step away is kind of a sin, like a crime. So for instance, what I'm doing today, like building a perfume brand, that is considered a social deviance, obviously. And I thought, perfect, that's exactly the energy that this brand, the message that this brand will carry for the rest of its survival.
Yeah.
So our tagline is actually, who effing cares? That's one of the tagline. And I mean that in a very liberating way. Like the moment you stop worrying about fitting in is usually when you really start being creative, right? And this is when your creativity ignites. So Korea taught me that lesson, maybe just not the way it originally intended.
Yeah. So, Remy, can you tell us a little bit about Sorelli and how a Frenchman ends up in Mexico City launching a Mexican brand?
Yes, so I'm French,
Yes.
as you can hear. Too difficult to hide. I moved to Mexico almost 12 years ago. Fell in love with everything in Mexico, the food, the people, the culture. I even married a Mexican, happily married for the past 8 years. And I had a chance to meet my wonderful co-founder that is right here, Anna Sarelli. We worked together and I just made my life purpose to bring Mexico to the world because Mexico brought so much to me. And I would say that Sarelli is the intersection of performance, culture, and community. And we have one conviction with my co-founder is that we don't adapt beauty for Latinas. We start from Latinas beauty and engineer performance from there. And if you think about our top-selling product that is right outside, the long cow lashes mascara, which is basically the very first mascara done for Latin lashes, because as the abuelas would say, Latinas have cow lashes because they are long, they are thin, and they grow like this. And so we had to create a mascara for them. And that product became the #1 makeup SKU today at Sephora and Ulta and even Costco Mexico. And I would say that product is great, but also the narrative is the other part of the story. Recently, we launched a 15-episode telenovela digital series on social. And it's called Drama en la Chamba, which means drama at work. And it's showing our everyday drama in our stores. And we show that basically that kind of entertainment that is really rooted in Mexican humor, Mexican culture, is actually that can drive our brand growth and our brand sales.
Yeah, I also, I think that when we think of brands being from a certain place and sort of grounding themselves there, sometimes it just leans to sort of the storytelling. But I think there's also, you guys take it a step further, and it really is a business differentiator and part of the business strategy. Sarah, as a female founder from Saudi Arabia, so it's not only who you are, but where you're from. How has that informed the business that you're building? Because you also have done it in a direct-to-consumer branded stores that are also each very different. Only having been there once, You know, I think there's so much change happening in the country. And sort of like young women are really finding themselves. And it's coming through in entrepreneurship as well.
Yeah, as you said, things are changing completely in Saudi. Women have become more and more going out, more modern. So this is what we wanted to build for them, a brand for them to be proud to be part of and to be part of the sisterhood of Asteri, which is a big part of our community. Everything in Saudi is done in groups, is done with friends. So we wanted to really tap into that. And even in our stores, you can see it. We have like a lounge for people to just come and chill. They can plug in their phones, charge them, and stay there. In our hospitality in stores, so for instance, we offer services for free, makeup rooms that people just can come in, do their makeup and leave. We serve them water, coffee, and they can just come and hang out, and it's part of the culture in our region. Each store, as you said, is different. So every store has a specific nod to the environment or the city it's built in. So it's inspired by that to give people a different experience every time they come to a store. That's one. Also to understand the architecture or the design of their city, or if it's a foreigner that's visiting. We also sell, as you said, online, and now we just launched an Ulta Beauty, so it was kind of difficult to also translate that experience into a smaller space. But yeah, I think the Arab woman is the most important thing in our universe, and how to communicate with her. International brands have always come to the region and spoken to the Arab woman in general, which is quite diverse. The consumer in Saudi is completely different than the consumer in Dubai or in Kuwait. So being part of that community gives us the edge and the understanding on how to communicate in to each woman there.
And also, I think a lot of the brands that are from the region tend to be fronted by an influencer. And
Yeah.
so your point of view is also sort of a business differentiator in that perspective.
Yes, we have a lot of influencer brands. I don't think that there is any brand that is owned by a Saudi female, which is not an influencer brand. We have a few beauty brands, but also that don't represent themselves as Saudi. They characterize themselves as a foreign brand or a French brand, but they're actually backed up by some company in the region. So I think that's what makes us different and special a bit.
So, June, you've described Born to Stand Out as an act of cultural defiance. What does that mean exactly when it comes to sort of building a business strategy and how you execute that sort of from branding? Because you can't, I mean, that's a big statement. You can't just say it, you kind of have to live it.
So I think you're making defiance sound dramatic. but in practice, it's just simply a series of choices that go against industry norms, or what I call industry autopilots. Like, the notion of originality is in the center of the universe of Born to Stand Out. Of course, you can never really arrive at originality, because everything, some may say, that is a copy of copy of copy, and you're inspired by different things. But you just keep reaching for the originality, and that reach is the whole point. And this mindset of originality carries through everything that we do as a brand. So it starts with a formula also, like the formula of the fragrance itself. When perfumers submit a formula, as we don't write a brief ourselves, we don't actually do a brief. So the first question I ask is very simple to perfumers. Do we really need this perfume? There's thousands of launches every year. Do we really need this perfume? And is this new to the world? If the answer is no, we don't make it. I am strongly against redundancy and safe choices that the perfumery is now known for. Our perfume bottle, as I said, is a good example of defiance. Our bottle take reference from the traditional Korean bottle with the red letterings, like I said, which is considered very aggressive. Like even, we have a fragrance card tag, like perfume tag, shape of a middle finger, as like a sellable product actually, which is quite popular. Naming is also one of our area that we focus on. I've always been quite skeptical of typical fragrance namings that sound like abstract French poetry. They don't give consumers any real feelings. There's no conversation there. So instead, we create names like drunk lovers, dirty rice, happy nuts, something that makes you tick or think. The goal is pretty simple. It's to make someone laugh, pause, or do a double take. Because in fragrance, that reaction is incredibly powerful because it starts a conversation. And this is what niche perfumery is about. And this conversation is how niche perfumery actually spreads. So defiance is not about being provocative for the sake of being provocative. It's about having a clear point of view and being comfortable, losing the people maybe who don't get you in order to deeply connect with the people who get you.
Yeah. No, listen, I had a fragrance brand for a long time. I know how hard it is to do what you've done. And I would agree with you. I think more fragrance brands need to have a point of view. And I love your fragrances because they're just sort of they're a little weird and Mud's in total rotation for me.
That's
so
exactly the point.
I love what you're doing. So Remy, you said that you've set out to prove that Mexican beauty and creativity can be globally aspirational. And you have taken it down to sort of the business strategy. So what does that mean sort of in practice, sort of from the messaging you're telling to sort of how you're running your business?
Yeah, I would say that culture is not just a layer, it's almost like our operating system. If we create product from the Latin identity, we create our narrative from the Latin culture. We had a chance to start with the community of my co-founder, and we got feedback in real time, which helped us speed up our innovation. And also the fact that we realized early on that just launching a good product was okay, but launching something and creating story that actually engage and connect with the consumer was everything they were looking for, because Mexico was and is a wonderful market where it's one of the youngest population. They are highly on social, so they know the global brands. But sometimes the global brands, they just came and they won't adapt their voice to the market. And I think Mexicans want to show that, and the Mexico market is a very identity-driven market where either you connect or you don't just localize, you belong or you don't belong. And that's why we wanted to show that we can be a Mexico brand, and we are not just creating a Mexican brand for Mexico, we are creating a global brand from Mexico. And today it's almost political,
Yeah.
But I believe that, I think that with that brand, we want to show that culture is stronger and travels further than politics, and that potentially, hopefully, and for sure, the next L'Oreal can and will be from LATAM.
Okay. Sarah, just to go back to a little bit about the women in the Middle East, and to go a little bit deeper into you saying that beauty standards have been imported into the region. I think a lot of people go to Dubai and think I've been to the Middle East. I haven't traveled very much in the Middle East, but I have been to Riyadh, and the Middle East is definitely not Dubai.
Yeah.
And it's and every country and every region is very different. Culturally, the people are different, and I think that nuance sometimes gets lost. The Middle East has also become a very sort of hot market, especially with Ulta entering this year. So, what would you tell brands who want to enter the market? What do they need to really understand about the culture and the consumer to be successful?
I think it's really important to know how to speak to the local consumer. The Arab consumer is very savvy and very trendy, and if something lands in Mexico or in New York, they will know before everyone else. They will order it online, they will try it and everything. So I think it's very important that when bringing a new product to the region is to kind of be informative about it, speak the local language, because as I said, and you mentioned now, Riyadh is not Dubai.
Yeah.
People, even in Jeddah, which is the same country as Saudi, we see it from our socials. Some posts work better for the people in Jeddah and they work badly for people in Riyadh. The communication in Riyadh needs to be in Arabic. In Saudi, in Kuwait, it needs to be in Arabic. And by Arabic, you need an actual Arabic speaker, not someone that's like just using ChatGPT or something else. In Dubai, it's a different community because it's mainly expats. So you need to kind of define where you want to start and what you're looking for in each market, I think.
I mean, June, can you share a little bit about the Korean market? Because, I mean, obviously, K beauty has taken over the world. Everyone is K beauty crazy. But I mean, there are brands who actually go to sell in Korea as well. But we were talking about it a little bit about how competitive that market is.
I have a lot to say. I've worked as a North Asia consumer sector analyst, including K-beauty. Like I can tell you like some of the myth about the market, which I want to really speak lowly about. First of all, there's a big myth that Korea is an easy market if you have the right product. It's not. It's actually a graveyard. And the headstones have very famous names on them. I don't want to name drop any of them, but we've seen many, like obviously Sephora pulled out a couple years ago, and many small and big, with the big distribution, with big capital, with the big global equity, they still failed. And that should terrify you, but equally fascinate you in equal measures, because here's what people know about Korea. They are extraordinarily open-minded at the point of entry only. They will try. They are curious. They're educated. They're genuinely excited about discovering new things. That's the part where everybody sees, and that's where dream starts, right? But between trial and trust, which will lead to a purchase decision, there is what I call canyon. There's a big canyon. And that canyon is where brands go to die. Because Korean consumers are also the most ruthless evaluators in terms of value, quality, and they're obsessed with the cultural relevance also. They will try your product once, analyze it with an eye of a sophisticated chemist, for instance, and like compare it against 20 brands, alternatives they find through a few clicks away, Naver, YouTube, Olive Young Review, whatever it may be, and then make a judgment that is almost impossible to reverse. So if you did not earn their trust in that window, you are done. Like they moved on already, and they will probably not come back ever. So that's the first one. And the second one I want to talk about is, I keep hearing, of course, brands entering Korea. It's the excitement about how deeply pocketed they seem to be, right? Because they spend the highest per capita in the world per year. I think it's about $490, which is the highest in the world, on beauty annually, that there is an appetite for premium or luxury products across the board. Yes, consumers in Korea are willing to pay for the premium for products that have explicitly gained and earned status and trust, but it's only a handful. Established, validated brands can communicate those prices, command those prices. But unless you are already like a status symbol, the Korean consumers will find a domestic alternative that is better formulated, better priced, and better reviewed. And they will find it within minutes, easily. So the market is huge, $25 billion just in Korea. But yes, it's the first in per capita spending in beauty, but with 30,000 brands competing, as of last year, there was 30,000 brands registered. It's huge for the selected who earned it, not for everyone who showed up expecting the dream. So my honest thought on everybody planning a entry to Korea, come with humility. Right? Come with a product that is genuinely, undeniably good, and come with a patience to earn trust over years, not like quarters. Because the Koreans consumers, they will reward you like no other market on earth, but only after they have decided that you deserve a place in their heart. And they're the one that decide, not you.
I think a lot of markets are like that, honestly. So Remy, both Sephora and Ulta Beauty have launched in Mexico, sort of putting a focus on the country and the broader region for international growth. What are the nuances of the market, and what do brands need to think about when entering sort of Mexico and sort of the broader Latin?
Well, first, it's understanding it's a big market.
Yeah.
People, as I mentioned, are heavy on social. I think it's for TikTok, it was in the top 3 biggest growth last year. They know the global brands. They are craving to test the global brands, especially if, and I was debating with that with Ulta because we had the chance to launch with both Ulta and Sephora in Mexico, how it's key for them to help promote local brand as well, because even though they are bringing lots of new news to the market, for example, Ulta launched 40 brands. And there's also other retailers, for example, from the rest of Latin that are launching and growing in Mexico, like Blush Bar, where we sell, and they are in Colombia, in Chile, and in Peru, and they see Mexico as a place to scale. And I would only say that, yes, it's a place to scale, but make sure that not just your innovation comes from bringing something new, it's also bringing something to the existing market, and maybe be a place where a brand like ours that didn't exist 3 years ago can actually scale into this channel. And I'm very grateful that even the Costco now is selling Kao Lashes mascara, where before there was no Mexican brand selling any makeup at Costco.
Interesting. I want to kind of double down a little bit on retail specifically. You, in addition to sort of traditional retails, you've sort of mastered sort of pop-ups and in-store activations, and you brought a pop-up here, which we're so excited to have. But what advice can you offer on retail marketing that sort of helps reinforce stories like yours?
I mean, retail is complicated. Most of our investors were like, we're going to waste all of our money in retail. But at the same time, to me, retail is not just a place where you sell. It's a place where you actually create culture. It's a place where, in our case, with Sareli, and we have so much fun, we always try to do our pop-up in our store, celebrating, an immersive experience that is just a celebration of something Mexican, iconic or cultural. Some of the stores look like a taqueria. Some of the stores look like Navarrotes, which is like a Mexican deli. And what we see is that people come to the store, they can find the product almost everywhere, starting with TikTok Shop. But they come to the store and they get content, they engage with us. And for example, we see that stores, on top of being this cultural driver, is also a content engine for us. And I would say that, for example, even just a little cart with Mexican candies and chips in such a great event like this for us is how, coming from Mexico, we can create a cultural moment in such an amazing event. And I think for that, even though people think that retail might be dying for a brand like ours, I would definitely recommend retail as a place of culture, identity, and growth and content engine.
Yeah. I mean, Sarah, it plays a similar role for you because I saw, I'm not, maybe I saw it on one of your LinkedIn feeds, someone from your team, that you've also launched sort of a pop-up concept sort of in malls as
Yeah.
well as branded stores. So how do you see, because obviously retail is part of the storytelling and you reaching the women. So how do you keep the brand intact in sort of these
I think
different iterations?
for us in the Middle East, retail is still very important. People enjoy going to shops. People love going to the mall. And from brands like us, what we make is something sensorial. So you need to try it, you need to touch it, you need to test it before buying it. So we try to create an experience within our stores that's different than everyone else, whether it's the colors we use in store, the music, and every once in a while we do a sort of different experience when we're opening. Or for now, for instance, in Ramadan, because it's the month we fast in, so we created in malls a hydration station. So you go and they do for you a hydration, let's say, ritual while you're fasting. So cream and a serum, etc. So we try to create these kind of different things related to whatever time of the year, or to kind of entice people to come and try. People love a pop-up experience or a limited experience more than just, the normal, usual stores.
So, I mean, June, you've also done branded stores, but what I really want to focus on, because I think fragrance has, for a long time, fragrance was growing, and I'm like, why is no one investing in fragrance? I mean, I knew why. It's complicated, right? And the brands don't grow fast. And then all of a sudden, everyone and their brother is launching a fragrance because it's easy, right? It's growing at X, and we need to have a fragrance. Um, I think what was really interesting with you, you were so methodical about where you launched the brand. Can you give some insight on what it really takes to launch a niche brand? Because you have to earn that consumer's trust,
Yeah.
and there are a handful of retailers that you have to be in there to sort of get the ball rolling.
It's a very deep question. Um, I mean, it's, speaking of, we actually started our brand with a retail concept, which we won proudly an award from
Yes.
BeautyMatter. But I always say this word, cohesive universe, because frankly, niche perfume is expensive. It's overpriced, right? It's undeniably overpriced versus what you see on the market, like such as CVS or Ulta. Even like our price point, it's the lowest price point is like what we launched in Sephora, which is the lowest price lineup. The full bottle, it's about $200. And then it goes all the way up to $400 for a full bottle. That's an expensive price. So building a cohesive brand universe to persuade consumers one by one and not rushing to build a brand is a key to, let's just say, becoming one of the big forces.
Mm-hmm.
It's ironically, it's about taking time. You need to take your time to have more fans, because if you are rushing, you're gonna die fast.
Yeah, and it is sort of it's very international. It's distributors, it's perfumeries, and it's slow. But I agree. I think sometimes people underestimate the category, but
We cannot grow as fast as skincare. We shouldn't.
no, it's different, right? So I want to open it up to questions, because I think this is a rare opportunity to get insight into some interesting markets. So does anyone have any questions? Yes.
Hi, I'm Vanessa. I work here in the US as a product development consultant. My question is for you, June. I loved what you said that trust has to be earned when entering the Korean market,
Yeah.
even with luxury or prestige brands. So, based on that insight, do you feel like there's a lot of opportunity in Korea for brands focused on duping high performing or best sellers? And if not, is that more of a opportunity for brands to really reinforce their messaging?
I mean, I don't want to discourage anybody. You know, there is obviously an opportunity. It's a big market. There is an opportunity if you succeed in gaining the confidence, the trust from the people. But it's very complex, right? It's not only a nominal level of trust. You need cultural relevance as well. And it needs to be deeper as your price point goes up. And there is such a drastically higher level of demand in terms of the cultural relevance. So more premium, more luxury the product is, consumers will ask for maybe too much. And you have to be able to cater to that kind of taste level, that confidence level. So is there opportunity? There's always an opportunity. But you have to really find your place within that 30,000 other brands.
I think we had a question here.
Also, a question for June. I'm very curious about your brand. I used to live in Korea actually, and there were no Korean founded perfume brands around 7 years ago. And now there's Tambourines, Born to Stand Out, Iloria here in the US. I have this question about Be My Cookie, which is chocolate, but it's also scatol. If anybody works in the perfume industry, you know what that scent is. So kind of what, you said leading into controversy and playing around with different elements. Where's that line between for you and for maybe brand founders to play between this is going to be provocative and interesting, and this is maybe too much of a risk for a brand to take?
Well, just to clarify on what Be My Cookie was, scatol is a molecule that is in jasmine in a very low dose, but it's also a smell of a poop.
Oh.
So it was a scent of a cookie and a poop, but it's not that bad. It wasn't that bad, as you make it sound like. Okay. It was obviously a very controversial fragrance, but it was an instant sellout.
I no doubt.
And like, I'm not trying to be a mainstream perfumery. I proudly call ourselves an artistic perfumery. I want edges. Like, we are so different than mainstream perfumery. Like, we don't want to sand down our edges. And that's what people want to hear from. That's what people expect from our brand. Right? People don't expect a consumer-tested product from Born to Stand Out. I'm just meeting their expectation.
I think we have time for one more question, or maybe two. Okay, we have one here and one here. They're gonna, yeah, it's coming. Right here.
Hello, everybody. So I have a question about three culturally very different brands, and I'm in the packaging side of the business. So I'm very curious to understand from the whole panel your expectations on your primary and secondary packaging and how you address that to align with each of your brand DNAs. And secondly, how will you address maintaining that personality as you perhaps scale to other markets?
It's a good question. In our case, actually, I think it was one of our areas of opportunity because on shelves, even the name, some of products are called telenovela lipstick, cow lashes. It was hard to really translate our cultural passion, and we are launching with a major retailer in the US in a few months, and one of the feedback was, we love the brand, but you might have to repack everything. And I was like, okay. But that was a good challenge, actually. Like really understand how we can translate that, because in that self-service environment where I'm not here to talk about lashes that look like a cow, how I can, through big pictures, through an explanation of why Mexico is so important for us, translate that. But yeah, I think the biggest challenge for a culturally driven brand is how you translate that, especially in the secondary packaging, which are a bit, it's just a card box.
I think for us it was representing the region and the diversification that we have in the region through the packaging. So each and every item we have has different colors and different packaging. So for us, it's a different case, but we also wanted to be sustainable. In our region, sustainability is not important at all. People don't care, but we care. So we try our best to be as sustainable as we can, also maintaining the kind of look and feel of the brand and maintaining the desert finish in a lot of our products.
I'm very anti-buzzword. So as a brand founder, I want to take responsibility though. Like what I create, we should be responsible for creating something that leaves as minimal of a carbon footprint as much as possible to the extent which technology allows. So for instance, like all of our packaging, we always use recycled materials. We never say we do, because I don't like to talk about this. Like for me, it's not the type of marketing that I want to do. Like I feel like if I say clean, then everybody else is dirty, right? For me, it's not it's a marketing gimmick which I don't want to be part of. But for me, sense of responsibility, it's what's important. So we use a cap from SK Chemical, which is a 100% recycled plastic. Our glass bottles are 100% recycled glass. Our perfume atomizers are also, because you cannot make it 100% recyclable, you can at least make it detachable, because what makes perfume unrecyclable is the climp type perfumes. So you have to throw it in garbage. But what we do is we let it detach after the use and also give refills to the wholesalers. So my philosophy is taking a responsibility and not just throwing out buzzwords just for the sake of marketing gimmick.
Well, I'm sorry, we've run out of time. We're over time, so I can't do another question. But thank you all for sharing your stories.